Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. We need your voices. I hope we have there it is. Okay. Let me know that love is all around. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me know that love can heal us all. Let me know that love can heal us all. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. One more time. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. All right, everybody, grab your person and give them a hug and let everybody know that we love everybody here at the church. See new faces out here today. All right, we're getting down. All right, join me in singing. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. In a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. One more time, in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Am I on? Yes? All right. How's everybody? That was a rouser, wasn't it? Get the vibration up and out. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Bakersfield. And it's time for us to share our vision and mission statements. So let's say them out loud. Ready? We are spirit-centered, vision-led, consciousness-driven,
inclusive spiritual community. We are here to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, beginning with ourselves, of course. And our mission is to create a sacred place for spiritual practice and to foster the beloved community. So let's begin this morning by creating a field of unity and harmony with a declaration of what is so, what is true, what is universal, what is forever. And that is that there's one life, one power, one presence behind the visible world and everything in it. That there are not two powers, and there is no power in conflict with anything. It simply is all there is, revealing itself in an amazing display of diversity and multiplicity, personifying itself as every life. And of course, this means that what we call God lives within us is that aspect of our nature that is without boundaries. That infinite aspect, that part of us that knows no limitation. That part of us is ever revealing itself as our personal life experience. So this morning we take the whole world into our awareness. We bring the whole world into this field, this matrix of consciousness that holds everybody in it as the image and likeness of God revealed. And we know that the whole world is moving forward, whether we can see it in evidence yet or not, it is. It is the nature of life to reveal itself in ever-expanding ways. And love is the driving force behind it all. Love is the energy that makes things find each other, that belong together, and maintains them in harmony and balance. And so today we make a decision to love greatly, to love more deeply, and to be more representative of it in our personal lives. And so with great gratitude for what is within us, what is around us, what is available to us, we let the morning create itself from that place of cheerful expectation, mutual respect and appreciation, and a sense that all things are possible. And so we begin, and so it is. All right, and now we have the wonderful duo of Shauna and Greg, and she's going to sing a beautiful song about the nature of reality.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. No one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. No one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life we can be sure. Birds do fly. winter turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold, 'cause that's the way of time. Everything must change. There are not many things in life we can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Rain comes from the clouds, and sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Thank you.
Spectacular. Thank you so much, Shauna and Greg. Beautiful. Good morning again. Woof. That's just a truth, isn't it? Sometimes that's the very truth that causes us a little pain sometimes when we see things change. And yet, if they didn't, we wouldn't have this life. We wouldn't have reality. We would never become more. We would never achieve more. We would never discover more. Things do morph and change. And so it's part of our spiritual practice to accept that. And along those lines, I was thinking about what's coming up in the next few months, which is hurricane season. And it happens every year. It's a big storm. And we all know that at the center of that storm, there's what is called the eye, where it is absolutely still. It is absolutely calm. While this whole thing is swirling around it, causing great havoc, there's that place. That's a very apt metaphor for how we can experience life sometime. The storm before the calm. Whatever we may be going through, and people go through things because the nature of life is change, and our resistance to change or fear of it or not knowing what to do with it can sometimes cause us pain and trepidation, and we get into those mental states. We're a little bit off kilter. Thank heavens we have a spiritual practice that helps us get back on. But sometimes we stay there for a while, yes? Hang out in the storm, as it were. But we remember there's a place of peace in us. And we just did our meditation this morning, and that was really the crux of it, is going to that place. And it's not far within. It's right there, between those thoughts, between the breath, and it's right available all the time. But we get caught up in the storm, and we forget about it, and we'll never find it if we keep our attention on the storm, if we hang out with the lowest consciousness. That's something we cannot afford to do. We cannot afford to mix it up with negativity. We have to stay above it, above the fray, above the storm, from that calm place. So our spiritual practice is to be compassionate with those who rumble and roar and start land wars. But we want to create the awareness that whoever we're dealing with, it seems to be in that place, is not an evil person, a bad person. They are a wounded person. And there's a lot of that going around. Wounded people can be quite dangerous. They can create a lot of havoc. But our teaching helps us heal those old wounds, helps us heal what we call things that need to be forgiven or things that happened in our childhood. And the peace place is the energy that does that. Revisiting it every day, going in there every day as a daily meditation helps us. It actually rejuvenates the physical self, but it brings more stability to the nervous system, which allows us to be more present and more available to what wants to happen in us. And what is the one thing that wants to happen in you all the time? You know the answer. Come on. Yes, love. That powerful spiritual energy that brings things together that belong together. Love is the cohesive force in the universe. Love is the energy that keeps the planets spinning in their orbits. It brings rainfall. Love is the energy that supports life, and it's always trying to happen in us. And love doesn't mean agreeing with the worst behavior. It means transcending it and making some kind of effort to bring it up, to heal the wounds and help other people heal their wounds. So it reminds me of Britain, and during World War II, you know, London was being bombed on a fairly regular basis. But the British, you know, they had a saying that really is indicative of their culture and really good advice for us. It was stay calm and carry on. Stay calm and carry on. It's the energy swirling. Anger's happening, fear, but stay calm and carry on. Put one foot in front of the other. String one thought with another. I am love. God is here. All is well. As much as we can. It is a daily practice. And it's really good advice. It's actually spiritual advice. That no matter what is brewing in our world, and there's always something brewing, there is an emergent good. There is that love trying to happen. It's the nature of life to maintain its own wholeness. It has an integrity. And the integrity is love and intelligence in perfect right relationship. So when things desperately need to change, there's always a backlash. You've probably noticed that. Just watch the news, you know. Great new ideas always create a pendulum swing. They start moving over this way, and then they go back, and then they move, they go back, and then they go over here, and then they right themselves in a new place. It happens every time if you watch culture, how we make these big changes. There's always a tendency to maintain the old. It's just habit, right? It's just something that happens in us. And an attempt for some people to hang on to their dysfunction because they're familiar with it. It's their reality. And imagine this. You might even think about this yourself. I'm not saying you have these issues, but think about this yourself. The thought when there is fear of change is something like this. But who would I be without this defense mechanism? Who would I be if I didn't have these problems to fight against all the time? Who would I be if things were really easy? What would I think about if life were effortless? Have I become a major problem solver? That's not our spiritual path, is it? We get answers and we make changes, but our attention isn't on solving problems. It's on creating better circumstances, using our beautiful creative minds to do it. So since you might not have an answer to those questions, the familiar is preferred, even with its limitations. And that's, you know, psychologically they call that our comfort zone. And it can be very limiting, but it's home. If you start meditating every day, something rises in you that's perfectly natural. And it is, I call it happy for no reason. And it promotes in us a sense of well-being without anything changing in the outer. That's the beauty of meditation. Imagine that. Without anything changing in the outer, we can have a sense of happy, we can have a sense of well-being. What does that do to us? It makes us available to love, available to creation, available to change in the positive sense of what wants to happen next. So, having said all that, there's within every one of us what Barbara Marx Hubbard called the evolutionary principle. It's in our DNA. Our spiritual DNA is to evolve, to become more, to express more and reveal more. And it will not allow us to stay in stasis. And how do you know it's working on you? It's when you get uncomfortable. It's when you get resistant. It's when you get frustrated. You know, sometimes we get really frustrated the way things are, but that doesn't mean the way things are is the problem. It means we are not listening to the high self, the true self, the spiritual self, which is saying change, move. It doesn't mean you have to leave the situation, but be different in it. Access more of who you really are. So frustration is kind of a positive thing, because it's saying there's something more for you and you ought to have it. So set your sails and go forward. Change your mind about something. That's where the big change always comes in. So once this revolutionary and evolutionary, starts to move upward and outward, the status quo starts to crumble. When there's a better idea on the move, the old forms that were created by the old ideas start to crumble. They start to come unglued. They start to lose their integrity. Eventually, they'll dissolve and disappear, and something else will arise in their place. So when things look the worst, is often the most potent and creative time of all. So questions for us today. Is my relationship, it could be with your children, your parents, your neighbors, your significant other, whatever it is, are my relationships growing? Is my business expanding? Is my health more vibrant? Or are things coming unglued? Are they falling apart? If the answer is a reluctant yes, keep calm and carry on. Go back to that place. The starting point for everything is peace. That's the launching pad for life. It's the great I said it in the meditation day. There's an ancient mystical saying from Hinduism. It says, to the one who can perfectly practice inaction, all things are possible. Isn't that interesting? It seems like a contradiction. To the person who can do nothing in that space of peace and calm, the whole realm of possibility opens up because there's no resistance. Meditation is non-doing. Meditation is beingness and not doing. All right, so keep calm and carry on. And that's the moment when things look the worst is exactly the time you can make great changes in your life. You may have noticed that before. If we get above it and don't fall into the lowest consciousness and start swimming around with sharks, if we raise our attention up and see through to the possibility, great changes can come in any situation whatsoever. You know, those changes that might make us uncomfortable for a bit, but it's the nature of growth. You know, I don't know, I think boys experience this more than girls. Growing pains when you were a preteen or a teen and you grew 3 inches one summer, your bones actually hurt, and they're called growing pains. Well, we have psychological growing pains, and we have spiritual growing pains, and sometimes we're loath to leave our precious ideas behind. You know, they become like friends, and they become like family because they're familiar. So when there's a big storm, there are usually power outages. We don't have any power. We hunker down, we light candles or get out the flashlights, and that's good as an analogy. Go within the darkness. Don't be afraid to go within when things look the worst. Don't be afraid to sit with it and allow the answers to come. Regain the power. How do you regain power? Through self-assessment, through looking at yourself. Who am I in this situation? What is mine to do in this situation? How did I contribute to this situation? And who am I really? It's powerful. Power comes back. Emerson, you know, I love Emerson, and he said this, Power resides in the moment of transition from a past to a new state, in the shooting of the gulf, in the darting to an aim. That's where we're powerful. You know, we might call it enthusiasm. We might call it conviction. We might call it certainty. But when we say, I'm done with it, I'm not doing it this way anymore, I have a better idea, we've got power, right? And we're filled with energy and we're filled with enthusiasm, and attendant ideas seem to flood in and help us. It's a great metaphor. Stay calm and carry on. So the new aim that Emerson talked about can be a change of mind about someone. We all have people in our life that seem to plague us for some reason, and they seem to be whispering in our ear, but you're not enough, you're not good enough, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're just an outpicturing of some leftover stuff that we're carrying around. And so we heal ourselves. The best way to help someone else is to heal yourself. Don't get into it with them. You know that great line from Princess Bride? I think I said this before, but I can't help it. It makes me laugh every time. You go to the wisest person, and he said, what is the greatest thing I need to know? And he said, never start a land war in Asia. And I say that all the time. Don't start wars. Take yourself out of it. You don't belong there. Don't slum. You don't belong there. So it doesn't have to be the transition from an old state to a new one, or shooting for the stars doesn't have to be like this huge invention. It can be just a leap out of your own past and into the now. It seems to me, as I speak with people all the time and I study myself and watch what I do, is that a great deal of our adult life is dealing with the past and trying not to. And trying to stay current. A great deal of spiritual practice is about staying current. So our tools help us do that. Meditation really does help. And spiritual mind treatment really does help. And affirmations really does help. And as does spiritual community with like-minded people. It does help. But we have to practice the practice. So possibility resides in this moment. But is this moment powerful or not? The first step is to own the fact that we need to make some changes in how we see ourselves and what we believe about this universe. And that's the big one. And a great question that you might ask people who ask, what do you do in that crazy place you go on Sunday? You might ask them, well, what's your take on reality? How do you see the universe? How is it set up? And then you can open up a conversation, but does it seem to be supportive of itself? Does life seem to support itself? That's kind of what we talk about when we go on Sunday, is how this great power the world's been calling God all these years is actually a real presence in us. It's our greater possibility. It's our evolved self. It's our hidden potential. It is greater than us, and yet it is being us. And these conversations are really useful, and they're really helpful. You don't have to teach theology to anyone. You just ask them, what's your take on reality? You might ask yourself that, because sometimes we slip and we forget, like we do when we're trying to change any habit, right? And just do kind of bring it up to date. What do I really think about the universe? Sometimes it's hard to let go of our former vision of God. Sometimes the religions we were raised in, which were fine for then, but we've outgrown them, but they still crop up. It's still hard to let them go. We have to look at that and say, what do I really believe about this universe? Have we bumped up against our former religious views of God? You know, we thought it was male, we thought it was remote, we thought it was capricious. But letting go of our childhood training about anything can bring a big storm in us. You know, most of us had money concepts brainwashed in us when we were kids. Depending on how our parents handled money, we were watching all the time, right? Listening all the time as if they complained about never having enough, or you know what I'm talking about. We pick up these things, and we don't think they mean anything to us anymore, but occasionally we bump up against them. And that's when we want to say, well, what do I believe about the universe? What do I really believe about supply? Is it true that spirit supplies itself out of itself all the time according to the demand made upon it? Yes, that's true. And it's those simple principles that we bring back into our awareness that can really help us in the moment. Really help us in the moment. You know, it's really rare for someone, once they've accepted this teaching, to go back to old religion, but it does happen. Once in Canada, I had a really great student. She was so good at this, and I thought, she's going to become a minister. I know she is. She's going to do something with this. And then she suddenly stopped attending and never heard from her. And Calgary's a big city. But one day, a year later, I ran into her on the street. And I said, oh my gosh, where have you been? Why did you leave our teaching? And she said, and these are her words, I just couldn't accept that power. It made me afraid of what I might do with it. So that's a lack of self-trust. And that's something that could have been healed. That's something we could have worked on if she had been willing to share it with me. But it does happen sometimes. And self-trust is an issue for most of us for a variety of reasons. That's an inner storm. Can I trust myself? Can I believe I am an expression of the power we call God? Say this out loud. I am harmless. Say this out loud. I am harmless. All right. It's harmless doesn't mean weak. It means I do no harm. How can you do harm if you're seeing the best in people, if you're awakening yourself to your higher potential? You're harmless. So the answer lies in the eye of the storm, in that calm place within every one of us. I want to close with something from Emerson. I'm going to read it right out of the book because it's so good. He's so wonderful. And this is on page 92 in the essay called Compensation. I urge you to read his essays. He was a great influence on this teaching. He said, the compensations of calamity, and he's talking about storms, big storms, when things look the worst. The compensations of calamity are made apparent to the understanding after long intervals of time. A fever, a mutilation, a cruel disappointment, a loss of wealth, a loss of friends, seems at the moment unpaid loss and unpayable. But the sure years reveal the deep remedial force that underlies all facts. That's it, emergent good. The death of a dear friend, wife, brother, lover, which seemed nothing but privation, somewhat later assumes the aspect of a guide or genius. For it commonly operates revolutions in our way of life, terminates an epoch of infancy or of youth, which was waiting to be closed, breaks up a wanted occupation or a household or style of living, and allows the formation of new ones more friendly to the growth of character, things falling apart, coming back, something else taking up that space. Let me find my place. It permits or constrains the formation of new acquaintances and the reception of new influences that prove of the first importance to the next years. And the man or woman who would have remained a sunny gardener, a sunny garden flower with no room for its roots and too much sunshine on its head, by the falling of the walls and the neglect of the gardener is made the banyan of the forest, yielding shade and fruit to wide neighbors of people. Isn't that great? The law of compensation. When things look the worst, the very best is trying to happen. And our part is to let it come through us. Our part is to say yes to it. Yes to what wants to happen. All right, so let's go within, close our eyes for a moment, and just firm up this truth. By recognizing the awareness of this universe and everything in it as God expressing, Spirit expressing, this power that really has no name, revealing itself just for the joy of it. It is its nature to become, to diversify, to multiply. It is its nature to reveal itself in a spectacular display of forms. And it's doing it constantly. Within each one of us, there is that power, there is that presence, there is that evolutionary principle that says, be and not seem. Rise, move forward, love more, expect more, live on a higher level, become. And that everything that is necessary to that is supplied, is already on the move, available to us as we claim it. So today, let's claim our good. Let's claim our prosperity. Let's claim new relationships. Let's claim joy. Let's claim transcendence as we shoot for the higher level that is available to us right now, as we aim for a greater way to be in the world, and as we accept that all is well right here and right now. And we simply say, and so it is.
My name is Shauna. This is Greg. And together we are known as Waterfall. And we play around Bakersfield. And Reverend Carol has asked us to learn this brand new song. So we're presenting it for the first time we've ever played it. It's a beautiful song. It's called Butterfly. Sitting alone on a hillside, confused about what to do. My choices were complicated, and it was time to think things through. I spotted a striped caterpillar stretching her face to the sky and dragging her cumbersome body an inch at a time. I felt sorry for her slow progress when a friend of hers fluttered by. As I leaned in close, the caterpillar spoke with a voice as soft as a sigh. And she said, "Butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be all right. I feel a change coming. I feel it in my skin. I feel myself outgrowing this life I've been living in, and I'm afraid of change. So, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be all right. Well, I'm like that caterpillar, afraid of the dark cocoon, wanting to hide in the tall grass when change is coming soon. But all the things we long for are born on the wings of change, and losses can lead to blessings we can't explain. Well, butterflies remind us there's magic in every life, and we can become what we dream of if that furry little worm can learn how to fly. So I say, butterfly, please myself outgrowing this life I've been living in, and I'm afraid of change. So, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. And on the day of my last breath, I expect to see angels like butterflies over my head. And I'll say, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. 'Cause I can feel this change coming. I feel it in my skin. I feel myself outgrowing this life I've been living in, and I'm afraid of change. So, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. Oh, butterfly, please tell me again I'm gonna be alright. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's Greg and Shauna. Thank you.
That was written by Janice Stanfeld, a friend of mine. She's part of our teaching. She's a great songwriter in Nashville. And you did it justice. It was gorgeous. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right, here's our ushers, Sharon and Liz. Thank you for serving us today. And let's have our time of conscious giving. And if you will say with me the affirmation that's on the screen. And let's do it with some energy and some love, and know that our gift goes out into the world and touches many lives and is returned to us. Divine love blesses this gift. It is circulated with love and is returned to me pressed down and overflowing. I am a happy giver and a grateful receiver. Our center is blessed. And Shauna, you going to lead us?
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed.
At World Records, when's it start? September 1st, so we're all going to go see it. But they won't be singing here anymore unless they change their mind. So, but I want to say to you, Shauna and Greg, what a blessing you've been to this center over the years. And we really appreciate you. And don't be too big. Don't be a stranger. We'll come and see you. Okay, a few announcements. If you're new to us today, thank you for being here. We really appreciate that you chose to spend your time at the Center for Spiritual Living. A welcome packet. They'd be interested in our teaching, but they're a little timid about coming. Give them a welcome packet. All right? This is our 70th year in Bakersfield. You know, we really need to get moving on this one, right? Because November will be here before we know it, and we want to have a big celebration. 70 years in this place. That's amazing. That's really an accomplishment. We're launching live streaming. We've moved the date to the 20th, and we've got all the equipment. Parisi, I want to thank you publicly for everything you did to set this up for us. Yay. He came down the other day and spent a couple hours down here with me, and I really appreciate that. So we'll be starting that on September 20th. Dress up and come and be a part of it. We're starting something with Lindsay Sharp, who's been doing yoga on Thursdays, and we're going to call it Kirtan, an evening of sound and silence. And we'll have didgeridoo, and we'll have chimes, and we'll have bells, and we'll have voice, and we'll have Tibetan bowls, and we'll do meditation, we'll do treatment, and some chanting. So a real healing kind of service. That'll be on Wednesday, September 18th. And then we'll do it once a month after that. So sign up for my daily blog, Living Consciously, on the back table, and also our e-bulletin, our newsletter that goes out every week. And I seem to be the only... Oh, Sharon, where are you? Oh, she's back in the back. She's our practitioner of today. And if you have an issue in your life, something you want to get moving, Sharon will be over here to help you out, give you a spiritual mind treatment. Okay, I believe that's all the announcements. So let's stand and sing. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, brothers all are we. Let us walk with each other in peace and harmony. Let there be peace on earth. Let this be our moment now. With every step I take, let this be our solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment, peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. All of us.
Thank you. And be here next week because Reverend Terry Turner will be our guest speaker. I will be at a Solomar speaking there. So thank you, Terry. And let's go out and make change happen. Thank you so much. I'm going to miss you. You did a beautiful job with that.